Honey, please. Grandma is in dire need of you at the moment. She doesn't feel good at all. Over the phone, my mother's voice cracked, laden with what I now realize was phony worry. I was sitting in my Indianapolis apartment, surrounded by the bags I had brought for our large family vacation. My enthusiasm is fading swiftly, and I'm starting to worry. Naturally, I will remain. Without hesitation, I answered. The cruise doesn't matter if Grandma requires assistance. Only a few hours later, those remarks would haunt me. I'm Tara Smith, and I'm 28. I've always made an effort to be the dependable daughter who could be relied upon in difficult situations. However, I never would have predicted the manner in which my commitment to family would be put to the test. For months, I had been anticipating this cruise. Our first genuine family trip in years was intended to be this one. My younger sister Emma, my parents, myself, and a few more family members. I had even purchased new summer clothing and taken time off from work. However, I didn't hesitate to cancel when my mother called to inform me that my grandmother was in the hospital. I was on my way to the hospital that night. Emma shared something on social media, and my phone buzzed with the notice. As I gazed at the picture, my heart stopped. All of my relatives aboard the cruise ship. Glasses of champagne were lifted in joy. The most amazing trip ever. I am so fortunate to have such a wonderful family. Life on a cruise, family time, it said in the caption. I paused and looked at the picture, trembling. Mom, Dad. Emma, my aunts and uncles were all on the ship's deck, grinning widely. I had been misled by them. Using my adored grandma as a pretext, they had purposefully left me out of the family trip. There was no documentation of my grandmother's admission when I eventually made it to the hospital. All of my calls to my parents ended up in voicemail. Within minutes after I saw Emma's tweet, she banned me on social media. My breath was taken away by the treachery, which seemed like a physical blow. With tears clouding my eyes, I drove to my grandmother's house. Her lights were on, which surprised me. She opened the door when I knocked. They appear to be in excellent health and are rather perplexed by my condition. What's wrong? Tara, my love. Grandma pulled me into a cozy embrace and requested. Her lavender aroma, which I knew so well, made me cry again. The truth spilled out as we sat in her comfortable living room. The lies, the cruise. My entire existence was upended by the social media post. I don't get it. Wiping my eyes, I said, why would they harm me in this way? Why pretend that you're ill? A look of disappointment clouded Grandma's cheeks. Emma and I had always been treated equally by her, but my parents were a different matter. I'd grown up in Indianapolis and seen them always give preference to my sister. They found the money for Emma's dancing lessons. I had to take out loans when I needed assistance paying for my college education. During my visits to Grandma throughout the years, I recalled assisting her with groceries, taking her to doctor's appointments, or simply spending time with her while perusing old picture albums. Emma didn't often come until she was in need, usually cash. She remained, however, our parents' favorite kid. Last week, your mom gave me a call. With a tense, angry voice, Grandma confessed. I was asked to comply. If you stopped by to act as though I had been admitted to the hospital. Naturally, I declined. I didn't think they would follow through on this plan. I had to work additional shifts at the accounting business, where I worked for months to save up the over $2,000 per person cost of the cruise tickets for a week-long Caribbean vacation. I now questioned whether my ticket money had somehow paid for someone else's cabin, or whether they had always intended to keep me out. I looked at my hands and said, you know what hurts the most? They didn't even require a complex justification. Simply saying that they didn't want me there would have sufficed. Instead, they manipulated me by taking advantage of the fact that I care about you. Grandma's grasp was unexpectedly firm when she grabbed for my hand. Sometimes, even when they believe they are hiding something, individuals reveal you who they really are. Wisely, she said. What are you going to do with that information, I wonder? I noticed a furious and determined look in her eyes as I glanced up at her. I had no idea that Grandma had her own ideas and had been keeping a closer eye on our family dynamics than any of us knew. My phone buzzed once more when I was sitting with my grandmother in her living room. My cousin Nina, who was unaware that I had been kicked from the trip, sent me a group text this time. She didn't realize I wasn't supposed to see the vacation pictures she had intended to send to everyone in the family group chat. As I looked through the pictures, my heart fell. I had assisted Emma in choosing a sundress for the vacation, and she was wearing it, my parents enjoying cocktails while relaxing by the pool. For a formal supper, the entire family assembled, all suited up and giggling. However, it was my mother's diamond jewelry that drew my attention. Grandma had given her 1 year ago with the intention of giving it to both of her daughters on their 30th birthdays. Didn't she give it to Emma already? Even though I'm the older one, I inquired and showed Grandma the picture, despite the fact that we were meant to share it. Leaning forward, Grandma examined the photograph, her face stiffening. "Our family has had that jewelry for 3 generations." Silently, she said, "Your great-grandmother divided her jewels equally among her daughters. I gave it to your mother with particular instructions because of this." Grandma then disclosed something that chilled me to the bone. My parents' money had not yet been used to pay for the cruise. She had specifically stated that the $15,000 she had paid them to organize a family holiday was for all of us 2 months prior. Rather, they had booked additional excursions and upgraded their own accommodations using my share. Grandma went on, her voice laden with displeasure. "I've been watching. I've observed how people regard you differently for years. That's what I kept hoping would happen. They would become aware of their actions. However, this is the final straw." She got up and went to her desk, where she took out a big envelope made of manila. "You must know, even if I wasn't planning to show you yet. I've been documenting every instance in which they've given preference to Emma, exploited your generosity, and spent money differently between the two of you. Bank statements, pictures, emails, and handwritten messages from several years were all in the package." I read through them with shaking hands. Black and white revealed the reality. Favoritism was more than simply a mental trend. It had been purposeful, methodical, and constant. However, why I muttered. My entire world collapsed under the weight of years of denial and gaslighting. Why did they continually give me the impression that I was dreaming? I had never seen Grandma's eyes sparkle with such resolve. Because when individuals realize they're mistaken, they act accordingly. They attempt to cast doubt on you, but no more. Tara, no more. The duration of the family cruise was set at 7 days. The next morning, while I sat at my apartment in Indianapolis, working over Grandma's paperwork, Emma texted me. "You're spreading false information about us," Mom said. "Instead of attempting to wreck everything, why can't you simply be happy for once?" I gazed at the text. My anger is growing. Despite everything they had done, they were still attempting to paint me as the bad guy. Rather than answer Emma, I took a risk I had never taken before. I said it like it was on social media. It's funny how I became the issue I wrote about when my family lied to me about my grandmother's hospitalization in order to keep me from going on vacation. I've attached Emma's favorite vacation picture. It's even more hilarious that the money intended for me was used to pay for the cruise. My post received a ton of responses in a matter of minutes. Our longtime family friends acknowledged their surprise. Unaware of the whole situation, my relatives started sending me private messages, in which they shared their own views of the ways in which I had been treated differently throughout the years. Then my dad phoned. Grandma's words replayed in my head, and I nearly didn't respond. "Don't back down. There is nothing wrong with you. Remove the post right away." His voice was icy as he commanded. "This family is being embarrassed by you. No father. When you stole Grandma's money and made up a story about her being ill, you shamed this family. I was left out of money that was intended for all of us. It didn't happen that way." He quarreled. "We required a respite from your monotony, your constant. No matter how you treat me, I will always be my white dad. I will always be dependable. I will always assist out with Grandma, and I will always try to be a member of this family." There was a pause in the line. His voice had changed to one of menace when he spoke again. "You'll regret it if you don't remove that post and provide a public apology for your falsehoods. You're unaware of the stakes involved. Do you mean to threaten me? I'm alerting you. Over the years, you have been safeguarded by your mother and myself, kept certain information from you. Okay if you'd want to play this game. But keep in mind that you are not the only storyteller." When the phone ended, I was shaken. What had they kept me safe from? What tales may they share? I immediately contacted my grandmother. They want to frighten me. I informed her. Although he won't reveal what it is, Dad claims they have been shielding me from something. Grandma was silent for a while. At last, she said, "Go to your email. Something is on its way to you. You need to know everything now." With my hands shaking a little, I opened my laptop and saw that this was more than simply a family vacation. Everything would change if you read what was in that email. And my parents had excellent cause to be concerned about what I may find out based on Grandma's tone. As I opened Grandma's email, my hands trembled. A 25-year-old trust agreement that made my breath seize in my throat was scanned and found within. The documents indicate that before he died, my maternal grandpa left behind a sizable wealth, intended to be split equally among all of his grandkids upon their 30th birthday. There was more than the $2 million worth of the trust. Over the years, a number of bank statements revealed consistent withdrawals from the trust. Emma's dancing training, private school education, college tuition, and even her recent wedding were all paid for using this money. It had all come from what should have been my portion. Grandma told me over the phone that they had been taking from you since you were 3 years old. Under the pretense that it would help you, your mother persuaded her brother Michael, the trustee, to grant her early access to your share. They used it all on Emma, though, as you can see. With a hollow voice, I concluded. The figures were astounding. Over the years, I had worked several jobs to pay for education, and more than $500,000 had been embezzled from my trust fund. At that moment, I received another email, this one from Uncle Michael. "I can't be silent any longer, Tara. The last straw was what they did with the cruise money. Documentation of each withdrawal they made from your trust is included. I'm so sorry. Years ago, I should have put an end to them. The data that were attached showed a more sinister reality. Emma wasn't the only thing my parents had purchased with my trust fund. Additionally, they had been embezzling money for themselves. The cruise was only the most recent manifestation of their continuous plan. How come you didn't inform me earlier? Grandma was the one I asked, attempting to comprehend the extent of the treachery. I didn't realize how big of a problem it was until recently, she said. Your mother promised to reimburse me for the entire amount when I challenged her about it last month. I then handed them the money for the cruise. Tara, it was a test. I hoped that they would finally act morally. I remarked sourly, and they failed spectacularly. Yes, but we've gotten just what we needed from their collapse. Evidence: Michael, your uncle, has consented to testify on their misuse of the trust, in addition to the cruise event and my documents. We can file a lawsuit. I replaced my disbelief with a final rush of resolve. Grandma's voice was steely as she said, "Better than that. We can ensure that you are never harmed by them again. Look at my email's second attachment." I gasped as I clicked it open. Grandma had a will, updated recently. I now know that she left me the only heir to her inheritance, which includes a majority stake in the family business where my father served as CEO. Grandma sternly stated that they are going to learn that their actions have repercussions. Uncle Michael and I met at a cafe in downtown Indianapolis the following morning. His hands trembled a little as he gave me a big folder, and the dark bags under his eyes indicated that he hadn't slept well. These are copies of each and every transaction and document. Silently, he said, "Everything has already been forwarded to the family lawyer. Your folks, Tara, they will attempt to combat this. Since I wrote that email, they have already given me 6 calls. What do they say?" Among the overwhelming evidence of years of financial deception, I asked. "They say that everything was done in your best interests, and that they were keeping you from becoming too wealthy or too young." He gave a disgusted shake of his head. "However, I discovered something else, something they are unaware of. I'm aware of that." A second document he produced revealed a string of recent payments to an offshore account. "Tara, they intend to depart the nation. They have been transferring funds and getting ready for anything." The cruise was more than simply a holiday. It was a trial run. They wanted to see if there would be any suspicions about their passports. My blood froze. "They want to use the remainder of your trust fund for their operations. Emma is involved too. To conceal the funds, she has been assisting them in opening accounts under her name." At that moment, my phone began to buzz. Emma had sent the SMS. "I'm aware of your actions. You're attempting to destroy everything because you've always been envious of me. Guess what, though? It's too late. We'll be gone by the time you figure it out, and nothing will be yours." Uncle Michael's face went white as I handed him the text. They're traveling more quickly than I anticipated. We must take action immediately. I immediately contacted my grandmother. As though she had been waiting there at the family business just now, she picked up the phone on the first ring. She didn't introduce herself. "Your dad is tidying up his workspace. I just got a call from security. Are they able to stop him?" "Better. I've already contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Division and the police. They will arrive soon. However, Tara," she hesitated, "you must descend there. The dominant shareholder is now you. This morning, the papers was filed first thing." My chair scraped the floor as I got to my feet. "They're not aware of it yet, are they? Our advantage is that arrive before any evidence is destroyed. The theft is proven by Uncle Michael's documents. However, there may be more that we are unaware of." Another text message arrived this time from my mother as I hurried to my car. "You're an unappreciative kid. You'll regret this after everything we've done for you." However, I was not frightened by their threats for the first time. The truth was on my side. I had nothing left to lose, and that was more significant. My parents were leaving my father's workplace with boxes as I got at the family business's headquarters. Emma, who was among them, looked around nervously. When they saw me get out of my automobile, they froze. "Why are you here?" trying to keep his bossy CEO voice. My father made a demand. However, I could sense that he was afraid. "It's funny, since I was about to ask you the same question." Calmly, I answered, "Especially considering that you are taking things out of my business without permission." "Your business?" Emma laughed. "What are you discussing?" I displayed the ownership documentation on my phone. "I am the new majority shareholder, and I am quite interested in these boxes you are carrying." Grandma handed her controlling shares to me this morning. "Are there any records of what you did with my trust fund in them behind them?" My mother's face became white. With their lights blazing, police cars came into the parking lot. Grandma was in the passenger seat when Uncle Michael's automobile pulled up, and FBI officers stepped out of unmarked cars. My mother begged, her voice trembling, "You don't understand. This family was the reason for all we did." "No," I corrected her. "You accomplished everything for Emma, and now you were going to steal the rest of my money." I looked at my sister. Emma, was the cruise enjoyable? Was it worthwhile? Emma broke down in tears, and the FBI agents came over. It was too late when my father attempted to yank her away. They had all finally been confronted by the reality. 3 months later, when we sipped our morning coffee in Grandma's garden in Indianapolis, I watched the fall foliage. The FBI's inquiry had turned up far more information than we had anticipated. My parents had embezzled from the business as well as from my trust money. They now had to deal with more shareholder legal actions and government prosecutions. Emma had struck a deal with the prosecution, giving immunity in return for testifying. After moving to Minnesota, she was ultimately left to fend for herself without the financial assistance of our parents. She sent me a long apology in her final mail. However, some wounds are too deep to be healed by words alone. Grandma added as she sipped her coffee, "You know, the way you handled everything would have made your grandfather proud. Money, he always argued, shows who people really are." I nodded as I considered the adjustments I had made while leading the firm. We had developed a more open financial structure and started a scholarship program for staff members' kids. The company was doing quite well, founded on honesty rather than dishonesty. I said I never wanted any of this. All I wanted was fair treatment. Grandma clasped my hand as she reached over. The greatest rewards in life might occasionally be camouflaged as its worst obstacles. Their treachery has been transformed into something constructive by you. She was correct. I had discovered my purpose, my power, and above all, my value as a person. They went on the cruise without me. After all, it hadn't been the trip of a lifetime. It had marked the beginning of my new life and the beginning of their demise.